Storytime Cast Member Edition. A couple of years ago, I was working as a safari driver at the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. I'm giving my safari as usual, saying hi to the hyenas, and I hear this conversation over the radio. Hi, Base?
Yes, this is Base.
Could we get a wheelchair to offload too, please?
Sure. Is everything okay?
Yeah, we just need a wheelchair, though.
Alright, I'm on my way.
A few minutes pass, and I'm waving hi to the rhinos when I hear the coordinator come back on.
Yeah, we're gonna need Alpha and offload too.
Which is code word for an ambulance. I finish my safari and I go on break, and I'm in the break room, and everybody's like, what the fuck is going on? And the coordinator comes back into the break room and just looks at all of us.
All I'm gonna say is that there are 3 signs in the queue line that says expectant mothers shouldn't ride.
Turns out someone started to have a little Haram baby on the safari.
Storytime Cast Member Edition. So, basically all of you know I worked at the safari now. And I just wanted to tell you one of the scariest moments that was brought up from one of the comments. One of the constant banes of our existence as safari drivers were guests fucking standing up on the bus. It's not cool, man. These are wild animals. You should hear some of the shit I can't say on TikTok. You know, it's woo! But one day, as we were passing over the Croc Bridge, you know, the bridge that is just over an entire enclosement of Nile crocodiles missing feet because other crocodiles eat them, the guest decided that it would be a fantastic idea to Simba his child out of the bus over the Croc Bridge. Nah, Zavanya, you're gonna drop your demon spawn.
Storytime Cast Member Edition. So a couple years ago, I was working at the safari, and it was during my training, and that day I was training a position called Merge. Merge, for those of you who don't know, is the point in which the fast-pass line and the standby line intersect. And it is the role of the Merge person to determine the ratio of how many to let fast-pass through and how many to let standby through. And we are given very specific ratios from Disney. So it was my first day training Merge, and we had a phase 3, which means the fast pass was backed up all the way to the fast pass touch points, which means I have to let 100 fast pass people through for every one small party of the standby line. So as you expect, there was a lot of people grumpy in the standby line. About 45 minutes of rolled eyes and groans later, I let a party through that has an old grandma, and she comes up and she touches my arm and she says, "I just wanted to say..." And I'm like, oh my gosh, Grandma's gonna tell me everything's alright. "I just wanted to say, absolutely horrible execution." Thank you, ma'am. Have a wild day at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Storytime Cast Member Edition. So a couple of years ago, I was working for the safari, and we have a bunch of different radio codes for different situations. We have one if an animal is out of its enclosure. We have one if a guest has jumped out of the truck. We have one that if you hit anything, even if you brush a tire against a curb. So it's one of my first days by myself after training, and my tire just kisses the curb. It just brushes it a little bit. So I have to go, fuck, I have to report this. So I'm like, okay, Base, I just 32 bead, but I was just wanting to let you know. What? Yeah, I just hit it with my back tire, but I think it should be alright if you can just check it when I come through. I will certainly do that. So I finish my safari and I get back to the loading dock, and the coordinator's there waiting for me, and he just has this very confused look on his face. And after my guests are out, he just goes, so you just meant that you hit something with your tire, right? And I go, yeah, why? And then I realize, did I say the code for a guest jumping out of the truck? You certainly did. Gotcha! We'll remember that for next time. Storytime Small World Disney Edition, but not the ride. So a couple of years ago, I got my first job with Disney, which was a safari driver for the Kilimanjaro Safari. After a 5-week training freeze, on which I parked strollers for 8 hours a day, I finally was able to start training. One of my trainers is really cool. He had been working for the company for a lot of years, and we were just talking one day, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever been to Disney World before this?" I was like, "Yeah, a few times," and I actually went when I was in 6th grade, and I did the YES program, which is Youth Education something or another, but basically it's a school program that you do with Disney, and one of the cool things that we got to do, and part of it was ride Space Mountain with the lights on, which was awesome. And he goes, "Oh, what year was that?" And I'm like, it was about 2006. And he goes, "Oh, do you happen to remember your trainers' names?" I don't know, but I was pretty sure it was 1 man and 1 female. And he looks at me and goes, "Well, that was me, because I was the only male trainer in that time frame." So 14 years later, he became my actual trainer.
Storytime Cast Member Edition.
So a couple of years ago, I was working at the safari, and we had a bunch of different radio codes for different situations, such as hitting something with your tire, an animal escaping, a gas jumping out of the truck, or something more benign like you need to go to the restroom or your walkie-talkie's about to die. So one thing we really weren't allowed to do is say that an animal was dead, or that we thought that it was dead. The reason behind that is nobody wants to hear that over the radio, and we're not a vet, so we don't know if they're dead or not. But I will never forget a moment where I had to literally stop my safari for a couple of seconds because I was laughing so hard. Yo, this poor girl, bless her heart, she had just finished training, and she said this over the radio. Base?
Yes, this is Base.
I'm passing by the Okapis right now, and I think one of them is 20Z. There was a little bit of a pause.
I'll let Animal Protection know. Thank you.
But why I laugh is because she said the radio code for a dead walkie-talkie battery. So she was literally like, oh, the Okapi ran out of juice. Yeah, life juice! Disclaimer, I don't think it actually was dead though.